Today we're going to be checking out the NVG30, the ultimate digital night vision monocular that can be purchased for under $500, and it's the predecessor to the NVG10, which has dominated the low end of digital night vision setups for the past year. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the device, highlighting its best features, and testing it out in a bunch of different environments to show you everything that this device is capable of and why I think it's currently the best option on the market out of the dozens of different digital night vision devices that we've seen on this channel for those of you that need highly capable night vision at an affordable price, who either don't want to spend a few $1,000s on a PVS 14, or for those of you who might want a backup device or you need something to be able to hand off to friends or family members that'll allow them to see in pitch dark environments. There will be links down in the description below in case you want to pick up the NVG30 and help support my channel, and for full disclosure, I do sell these units on my website Goodnight Gear, but this video was requested by many of my subscribers and I will give you completely unbiased feedback about its performance to help you decide if this is something that you should actually buy. The NVG30 is a very compact monocular and it weighs right around 10 ounces or 280 grams including the battery. On the front of the device, we've got a large objective lens, which is going to give you a nice wide 40-degree field of view, and you can also adjust the focus by rotating this ring, and beneath that there's a 940 nanometer IR illuminator, and if we turn on the IR illuminator to its max output, you can see here that the signature that it gives off to the human eye is very minimal. On the other side, you get a nice soft eyepiece, which gives you a good experience when you look into the NVG30, and it has a high resolution OLED display with a 1920 by 1080 resolution, and it can record 2K video and audio right to the included SD card, which makes capturing video on the device very simple. Beneath that, there's a battery compartment, and if you unscrew this, you'll find an 18650 battery, and these are easy to swap in and out. And another nice thing about the NVG30 is that there's a built-in USB-C port for charging, and next to that, there's an SD card port, and both of these are protected by a cover. On the opposite side, there's 3 buttons, which are going to give you control over the UI, and on top of the device, there's a plate, which you can use to attach a mount, and then you can attach that to a fast-compatible helmet so that it can be used hands-free. There's a lot of different features in the UI, but I don't want to bore you, so we won't touch on everything, but there are a few things that might be of interest to you, and pardon the poor image quality for this section, but when we do look at the recorded footage from the device in the next section, it will be much better. If you're planning on running or walking quickly with the device, the first thing that I would do is jump into the menu and update the frame rate from 30 to 40, which virtually eliminates any lag or latency from the device, which I was incredibly impressed with. Not that there's much noticeable lag with 30 frames per second, but 40 is definitely a little bit better, and we'll touch on that more later in this video. One cool feature that you can access in the menu is IR Auto, which will automatically adjust the IR output level depending on the environment, which will be easier than changing the output level manually. So I'm going to go ahead and set this to the on position. Picture-in-picture mode is another one of my favorite features, and this will give you a small window at the top of the display, which you can adjust the zoom without compromising your entire field of view. And this is another nice feature that I've grown to like, and now I leave it on in most cases. There is also a built-in compass, which needs to be calibrated, and sometimes it worked well for me, but other times it doesn't. So it's best not to rely too heavily on this feature. There is a memory mode with these settings, so they will return to their last configuration when you turn the device on and off, and none of the overlays, including the picture-in-picture, compass, or the crosshair, will record to video, and you can turn off all the icons so that they won't display when you're looking through the NVG30 either. Now we're going to take a look at some video recorded from the device using the removable SD card. Most of the video was taken in the presence of decent moonlight levels during the half moon phase, with IR illumination set to adjust automatically at a one-time zoom level. There are 4 different color modes on the NVG30, including a full color mode, which you'll see on the top left, a black and white mode, which is on the top right, a white phosphor mode, which is on the bottom left, and a green phosphor mode, which is in the bottom right. The full color mode has a purple hue to it. The black and white is nice to have, but I don't really find myself using it too often, but the white phosphor mode is one of my favorites, and the image is very reminiscent of what you might expect with the Gen 3 white phosphor PVS 14, and there's also a green mode, which is also reminiscent of many analog night vision setups as well. The first thing that really jumps out is the quality of the image. Details of various objects like people, grass, trees, and even cracks in the dirt are all incredibly clear. The field of view is also quite wide and much more usable in many circumstances compared to the NVG10, and we'll be taking a look at that comparison in a few minutes. There's a 1x, a 2x, a 3x, and a 4x magnification mode, and even as we zoom in up through the different magnification levels, we can see that not only is the picture quality still really good, but the IR illuminators are also doing an excellent job of keeping up too. In this shot, we're zooming in on my dad Mike, and he is approximately 150 meters away, and even at these great distances, there's enough contrast to easily distinguish a moving human from the background. The field of view is also quite wide on the NVG30, one of the biggest improvements over the NVG10, but we'll touch on this a little more in a few minutes, which does make it much more useful in close quarters and situations where you might need to observe your immediate surroundings to navigate navigate. And the wide field of view coupled with the excellent digital zoom capabilities really makes the device quite versatile. It is much easier and less disorienting to be used in navigation, and in my experience it's very well suited for navigating by solely relying on the device through relatively open and flat terrain. Small obstacles and turns still might provide a setback to some users, but with some practice the effect these might have on you would be minimized. The latency or the lag time between what you see in real life versus the time it takes for that image to appear on the screen of the MVG30 is really not noticeable and seems to be pretty much as close to zero as possible, and it's definitely the best of any digital night vision devices that I've tested so far, which really helps to make it useful for navigating and less draining on your brain because it's processing the surroundings very close to real time. In the presence of ambient lighting, the MVG30 also performs exceptionally well and is able to handle all kinds of external light sources, and it does a good job of limiting glare and balancing contrast between these light sources, so if you needed to be able to transition between cities in and outside of buildings with lights and outdoor settings with or without moonlight, you should have no problem. Now we've got some footage of the MVG30 side by side with the NVG10. The NVG10 is on the left side and the NVG30 is on the right. One important thing to note is that the experience is much better when you look through the NVG10 because of all the hoops that you have to jump through to record. So the video you see here doesn't quite do it justice, and I am planning to release a much more detailed head-to-head comparison between these two devices in a few weeks, so make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want to be notified about that video's release. But in summary, the main differences between the performance on the devices is that the NVG30 has a much larger field of view, so it's going to be much easier to walk around with and use in close quarters. The image quality is sharper and much more detailed both at close and long distances, so it'll be easier for you to identify targets and observe your surroundings. There's less latency on the NVG30, and the experience of walking around with it is exceptional. And there's also much more color palettes to choose from. One slight advantage I did notice with the NVG10 is that the image is slightly brighter and there does seem to be a bit more contrast, which does make it easier to distinguish between some objects. Overall, it is safe to say that the NVG30 is quite an upgrade in pretty much every way from the NVG10, though the NVG10 is still an exceptionally good unit for the price, and it's not far behind in most categories. Other people who have tested out the NVG30 have mentioned to me that the performance is superior to Gen 2 analog night vision and is coming close to rivaling the performance of Gen 3 analog night vision. This is definitely a good option to consider if you're looking to get your hands on some affordable night vision, and if you're interested in picking one up, you can save 10% using the coupon code US10 on Goodnight Gear, and there will be a link down in the description. Thanks for watching, and feel free to share your thoughts or questions on the NVG30 down in the comment section.